Don't just listen to what some advocates or folks who have an interest in this thing are saying. Look at the actual legislation. That's what happened here in Colorado. And hopefully, if we know the facts and we're listening to each other, then we can actually move forward. And that's what members of Congress need to hear from you. Right now, members of Congress are at home in their districts. Many of them are holding events where they can hear from their constituents. So I'm asking anyone out there who is listening today. Find out where your member of Congress stands on these issues. If they're not part of the 90% of Americans who agree on background checks, then ask them why not. Why wouldn't you want to make it more difficult for a dangerous criminal to get his or her hands on a gun? Why wouldn't you want to close the loophole that allows too many? Criminals to buy a gun without even the simplest of background checks? Why on earth wouldn't you want to make it easier rather than harder for law enforcement to do their job? I know that some of the officers here today know what it's like to look into the eyes of a parent or a grandparent. A brother or a sister, or a spouse who has just lost a loved one to an act of violence. Some of those families, by the way, are here today. And as police officers, you know as well as anybody. There is no magic solution to prevent every bad thing from happening in the world. You still suit up, you put on your badge, put yourself at risk every single day. Every single day, you go to work and you try to do the best. You can to protect the people you're sworn to protect and serve. Well, how can the rest of us as citizens do anything less? If there is just one step we can take to prevent more Americans from knowing the pain. That some of the families who are here have known, don't we have an obligation to try? Don't we have an obligation to try? If these reforms keep one person from murdering. Dozens of innocent children or worshippers or moviegoers in a span of minutes. Isn't it worth fighting for? I believe it is. That's why I'm going to keep on working. I'm going to keep on giving it my best efforts. But I'm going to need your help. This is not easy. And I'll be blunt, a lot of members of Congress, this is tough for them. Because those who are opposed to any form of legislation affecting guns. They're very well organized and they're very well financed. But it can be done if enough voices are heard. So I want to thank all the police officers who are here for giving their best efforts every single day. I want to thank Governor Hickenlooper for his outstanding leadership. I want to thank all the families who are here for your courage. In being willing to take out of this tragedy something positive. I want to thank the people of Colorado for coming together in sensible ways. Let's see if we can get the whole country to do so. Thank you, Denver. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. Barack Obama. Remarks on signing 23 executive actions to reduce gun violence. Delivered January 16, 2013. Thank you, everybody. Please have a seat. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me begin by thanking our Vice President, Joe Biden, for your dedication. Joe, to this issue, for bringing so many different voices to the table. Because while reducing gun violence is a complicated challenge, protecting our children from harm shouldn't be a divisive one. Over the month since the tragedy in Newtown, we've heard from so many, and, obviously, none have affected us more than the families of those gorgeous children and their teachers and guardians who, were lost. And so we're grateful to all of you for taking the time to be here. And recognizing that we honor their memories in part by doing everything we can to prevent this from happening again. But we also heard from some unexpected people. In particular, I started getting a lot of letters from kids. Four of them are here today: Grant Fritz, Julia Stokes, Hina Zija, and Teja Good. They're pretty representative of some of the messages that I got. These are some pretty smart letters from some pretty smart young people. Hina, a third grader, you can go ahead and wave, Hina. That's you. Hina wrote, I feel terrible for the parents who lost their children. I love my country and I want everybody to be happy and safe. And then, Grant, go ahead and wave, Grant. Grant said, I think there should be some changes. We should learn from what happened at Sandy Hook. I feel really bad. And then, Julia said, Julia, where are you? There you go. I'm not scared for my safety, I'm scared for others. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and I know I would not be able to bear the thought of losing any of them. These are our kids. This is what they're thinking about. And so what we should be thinking about is our responsibility to care for them. And shield them from harm, and give them the tools they need to grow up and do everything. That they're capable of doing, not just to pursue their own dreams, but to help build this country. This is our first task as a society. Keeping our children safe. This is how we will be judged. And their voices should compel us to change. And that's why, last month, I asked Joe to lead an effort, along with members of my cabinet. To come up with some concrete steps we can take right now to keep our children safe. To help prevent mass shootings, to reduce the broader epidemic of gun violence in this country. And we can't put this off any longer. Just last Thursday, as TV networks were covering one of Joe's meetings on this topic, news broke of another school shooting, this one in California. In the month since, 20 precious children and 6 brave adults were violently taken from us at Sandy Hook Elementary. More than 900 of our fellow Americans have reportedly died at the end of a gun, 900 in the past month. And every day we wait, that number will keep growing. So I'm putting forward a specific set of proposals based on the work of Joe's task force. And in the days ahead, I intend to use whatever weight this office holds to make them a reality. Because while there is no law or set of laws that can prevent every senseless act of violence completely, no piece of legislation that will prevent every tragedy, every act of evil, if there is even one thing we can do to reduce this violence. If there is even one life that can be saved, then we've got an obligation to try. And I'm going to do my part. As soon as I'm finished speaking here, I will sit at that desk and I will sign a directive giving law enforcement. Schools, mental health professionals and the public health community some of the tools they need to help reduce gun violence. We will make it easier to keep guns out of the hands of criminals by strengthening the background check system. We will help schools hire more resource officers if they want them and develop emergency preparedness plans. We will make sure mental health professionals know their options for reporting. Threats of violence even as we acknowledge that someone with a mental illness is far more likely to be a victim of violent crime than the perpetrator. And while year after year, those who oppose even modest gun safety measures have threatened to defund scientific or medical research into the causes of gun violence. I will direct the Centers for Disease Control to go ahead and study the best ways to reduce it and Congress should fund research into the effects that violent video games have on young minds. We don't benefit from ignorance. We don't benefit from not knowing the science of this epidemic of violence. These are a few of the 23 executive actions that I'm announcing today. But as important as these steps are, they are in no way a substitute for action from members of Congress. To make a real and lasting difference, Congress, too, must act, and Congress must act. Soon. And I'm calling on Congress to pass some very specific proposals right away. First, it's time for Congress to require a universal background check for anyone trying to buy a gun. The law already requires licensed gun dealers to run background checks, and over the last 14 years that's kept one. $5 million of the wrong people from getting their hands on a gun. But it's hard to enforce that law when as many as 40% of all gun purchases are conducted without a background check. That's not safe. That's not smart. It's not fair to responsible gun buyers or sellers. If you want to buy a gun, whether it's from a licensed dealer or a private seller, you should at least have to show you are not a felon or somebody legally prohibited from buying. One. This is common sense. And an overwhelming majority of Americans agree with us on the need for universal background. Checks including more than 70% of the National Rifle Association's members, according to one survey. So there's no reason we can't do this.